Ready? Okay. Hello, this week on the blog we are discussing the interesting, controversial, confusing campaign that Starbucks and USA Today started a few weeks ago on Race Together, a conversation on race and ethnicity in the U.S. And joining us this week is Abigail Robertson, also from CBN. Abby, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Abby, so we've talked about this briefly. It was a short-lived campaign, specifically the whole putting stickers on cups and writing it on cups, encouraging, for those who may not be familiar with the campaign, it was an effort on behalf of Starbucks to get some of their baristas, some of their partners to discuss race with the customers. Some people found it controversial, some people found it confusing, and some people just don't know what to call it. What do you think about the campaign in general?
Well, I think it has good intentions, but I think it's not exactly the best execution. I mean, if you go into a Starbucks any time between 7 to 9 in the morning, it is jam-packed, and I think asking the baristas to put these, big conversation points on the cups and then expect them to have educated and answers to when people actually ask about them when it's extremely busy in a coffee shop, it's just not the smartest idea.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to just ask some people around, see what they think about this, and we want to hear what you think, so make sure to comment either here on the blog or on Facebook. What are your thoughts on this strategy to address the issue of race in the U.S.?
Well, I definitely think it was an effective strategy as far as getting their campaign out. As far as the results they were looking for may not have been the best approach. But with that being said, anytime that you cause discomfort, that's a good way for change. So this is a good catalyst for what it is. Regardless of when or how you start the conversation about race, until it is ironed out and until race can actually be understood between all races, it's going to be an uncomfortable subject no matter the premise or no matter how it's approached. So I don't think necessarily that it was negative. Could the approach have been done a little bit more tactfully or a little bit better? Sure. Could their customers have been preempted with what they were trying to do? Absolutely. But their effect is exactly what they strived for. They wanted to ripple the waters to make change, and I think they started that.
One of the things that USA Today is asking people is, what is America's greatest race challenge?
Ooh, wow. I think just overcoming old stereotypes that have existed for years. I'm the son of an immigrant, and it existed for my father, who came here in the 60s, and I think it's just a lot of old mentality that unfortunately is hard for it to kind of come out. It's hard for it to get washed away. So I don't know. I mean, it's a tough question. It's a question we should all be asking ourselves, and we should be discussing, just maybe not at Starbucks.
I definitely think it was a great idea. I think the outcome really highlights the fact that having a conversation about race, just who we are as people, is really one that needs to be brought about. And the fact that so many people are uncomfortable with it, I think they should push to do more of it. I mean, it's a shame we can't talk about race as people and different humans, and for someone to really be uncomfortable talking about it, it's saddening.
Just getting people to work together now. Don't worry about what happened in the past. Do it now. That's for me, I mean, people are people. It doesn't matter what race they are. You work with people, you have to work with them. So do what you can. Just get along.
How then should we as a nation address the race issue?
By looking at people as people and not as black, white, green, purple, polka dotted, or whatever. I mean, if you address the individuals as individual, if you look beyond race, then that's the way to address it. If you address a situation with the filter that you're trying to do away with, that sounds to me as counterintuitive.
I think we need to encourage everybody to get in the habit of being curious about other nationalities, other races, and when you encounter them in everyday life, whether it's a Starbucks, a grocery store, wherever it is, strike up a conversation.
Since social media is very popular, I believe that would be a good way, to be honest.
Do we have a responsibility as individuals to get this conversation going, or do we need to wait for the government to get, to do something about this?
When we allow the government to step in, we relinquish our individuality, and we we relinquish our free will to engage with another party. We're letting someone else dictate what it is that we want, and that's a counterintuitive to democracy. And it's 100% the Republican way. If you want to be an individual, what you need to do is take it upon yourself to engage in the conversation. And it doesn't even have to be about just talking about it. It has to be about acceptance. What can we do to make each other accept one another and to appreciate one another? And I think that's where we're going wrong. We're trying to we're bringing about the color palette, black and white, red, blue, and green. It doesn't matter. We're all part of a rainbow. We should all accept one another in the grand picture of everything, and we lose sight of that when we let other people dictate which way we should go and when.
Now let's take it to the church. Should we, as the body of Christ, be addressing these issues more openly?
Yes, I think we should, because especially in churches that, if they're predominantly one race, I do think they need to just put an emphasis and importance on making everyone feel comfortable at the church service. And I do think it's an important thing for churches to address.
Okay, here's the problem with this. There's no right or wrong way. The truth is that when it comes to race, when it comes to ethnicity, just like with religion, somebody's bound to get offended. I just think that one thing for you watching right now is to always pray that God gives us the wisdom to address things in a way that we're able to heal rather than to hurt, and to understand that this is America. We all look different, but it might be a little awkward to have the conversation when we're getting our coffee.